Good morning, America.
Welcome to American Sunrise.
For legal analysis on the jury instructions and the imminent Trump verdict, let's bring in federal criminal defense attorney Ron Chapman, who was with us yesterday. Ron, we're so glad you're back with us. Where do we even begin on this? Help me out. The jury wanted to see some more of the judge's instructions, or at least have it be read back to them. What are we to make of that? Does that mean they're potentially, I don't know, kind of trying to figure things out as it relates to maybe that's good for Trump, maybe it's not? I mean, it's hard to tell. What do you think?
Yeah, there's two things I do after a trial like this. The first thing is I tell myself I'm not going to read the tea leaves. And then the next thing that I do is I read the tea leaves the entire time. And that's really what we're forced to do here. But with respect to the note requiring a readback of the jury instructions, that's pretty clear. I mean, that means that the jury doesn't understand the jury instructions. And I don't think that we should be confused as to why that is. The instruction for all of these crimes essentially is Donald Trump committed a crime by committing a felony that related to concealing evidence in these records or books. And then they tied it to a New York state election law that could have been violated by 3 other felony offenses, and then they listed those 3 offenses. That is the most convoluted and confusing jury instruction I've ever heard. To make matters worse, the judge also instructed that the jury doesn't need to unanimously figure out which of the 3 offenses they've articulated are. And I think there are serious appellate problems with that. The Supreme Court has spoken in RICO cases that you can't do that. So no wonder as to why the jury is confused there. With respect to the transcripts, it could be one juror asking it. It could be all. They could be having a dispute as to their notes in the testimony. Really hard to say what that means.
I'm glad you brought up the jury instructions because let's just be honest, even to the trained mind and the trained legal eye, it was pretty confusing. You kind of mentioned this, and I'd like you to expound on this. It seems to me that the instructions alone open this case up to a serious appeal and probably strong grounds for an appeal.
Oh, absolutely. That is going to be the first fight. A lot of people are talking about the Weinstein case as if that's going to have some help with respect to Stormy Daniels' testimony. Maybe. I don't really think it's that relevant. I think the real fight here on appeal, if there is one, and I really don't think that's going to be necessary, but if there is an appeal, you attack the jury instructions. Here's why. It's a preserved appellate issue. It goes to the foundation of the case. It goes to the crime that Bragg had to establish, and we all know that Bragg is pursuing a novel theory of crime, and the appellate courts are not going to want to permit that sort of theory because if it's used against Trump, it could be used against anybody. It could be used against Bloomberg. It could be used against all of the other people in New York State in power, which is not something the appellate courts necessarily want.
Ron,
so I don't want to gloss over a point. I'm sorry, Michelle. Let me just clear this up. I don't want to gloss over a point you made. You said you don't think that an appeal will be needed, which implies that you believe President Trump will be acquitted?
Yeah, or a hung jury. I don't know how long it would take Merchan to order a hung jury. Could be a week, could be 2. But I do believe that there will at least be a hung jury. But the right solution here is a full acquittal based on the lack of evidence that I've seen throughout this entire trial.
Okay.
Ron, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik is now demanding to know how this judge was even selected. She's filed a complaint with the state of New York because how is it that this one single judge who is clearly conflicted is the judge overseeing the Trump trial, the Steve Bannon trial, and also Trump's CFO's trial, Alan Weisselberg. That's all Weisselberg sent to prison. I mean, how is this possible that one judge was randomly selected to do all of the MAGA trials in that state?
Certainly begs the question. Judicial selection ordinarily happens by the court. The cases are randomly assigned. That's what we're told. But oftentimes there's a bit of a secret process where when other judges are conflicted, one judge will then get the case, the next judge. There's a hypothetical scenario, and I don't know if this has happened here, where a number of judges say that they're conflicted and the cases necessarily roll downhill to a single judge and they rest with a single judge. That certainly could have happened here. I don't know, but I think it's worth the inquiry to at least see what other judges said they're conflicted and why all of these cases came to the single judge.
Ron, 30 seconds or so, but I just got to follow up. So he's being tried, in essence, on Section 17152 in New York. And they all need to find unanimous guilt on that. But then within that Section 17152, it does say it could be by different unlawful means, and that's where they could split, right? So how in the world can they split on part of the statute that they're trying to vote him or potentially vote him guilty on? They're trying to split the statute in a way.
Exactly. And it's difficult to describe the legal lesson in 30 seconds, but I'll just say this.
Yeah.
When the conduct is the offense, you can't split these types of crimes, these three different theories up. So this is very similar to a RICO case, which the Supreme Court has said you can't do this in. You simply can't have three alternate theories for how this crime occurred, because those are three separate crimes, not three ways of committing the same crime.
Ron Chapman, grab a sleeping bag. We just camp out there. We'll keep coming back to you every single day. We appreciate it.
Will do.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Ron.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Ron.